as you remember from last week, we did a very brief touch of the OWASP Top 10. Well, over the next few episodes, we are actually going to be breaking them down. Stay tuned. So just as a quick review, the OWASP Top 10 are the top 10 vulnerabilities that are typically found in an application. So as we go through these, we're going to try to maybe get a little bit technical, but try not to get too deep. But we're going to try to make sure that you have a firm understanding when you walk away of each of those top 10 controls. So this week, we're going to be talking about Security Misconfiguration, which is one of the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. So let's break that down. So to break down some of these vulnerabilities that could make a web application vulnerable, we're going to read down a list of a few of them. A web application could be vulnerable if it is missing appropriate security hardening across any part of its application stack or even improperly configured cloud services. Unnecessary features are enabled or installed. This could be unnecessary ports, services, pages, accounts, or even privileges. Even default accounts and their passwords are still enabled and unchanged within the web application. We see this very often in the industry. Error handling reveals stack traces or other overly informative error messages to users, giving them more information on what they really should have. Even on upgraded systems, the latest security features are not disabled or not configured securely. So the next thing is we have a process in place, but how do we ensure that these web applications that we're putting out are absolutely secure and ready? How do we prevent? So one of the things is a repeatable hardening process that makes it easy to deploy in another environment and to make sure that all of the environments such as development, QA, and production are all using different and separate credentials. This process should be automated to minimize effort so that this process can be duplicated over and over no matter who is checking for these particular controls. Making sure that there is a platform that has minimal ports and services, pages running on it, so that the web application is basically sitting on a base, right? So we don't have unnecessary ports, unnecessary pages and services running. It is very important that we remove and uninstall any other software or applications on the particular system that it's running on besides the application that we want to have in our environment. Another one is having a task to formally review any changes to the application, any configuration modifications that there might be to the application, any security notes, patches, and so on. It's extremely important to have a formal process to have all of this in place and to make sure that these reviews are occurring effectively and timely. So as a first scenario, let's say that we have a server that's been set up with the application. However, the sample application on the server that might have come with it has not been removed. So the application that we want to use in a production environment is secure. It's been through the process. Everyone has checked all of the security controls. It is safe. However, this small oversight of the sample application has been missed. So in this particular case, it might have a default username and password that lets you log into the console that controls the entire server. This could actually give an attacker total control of that server and your web application. Another scenario is that the web application has been configured or misconfigured to actually give too much information on an error message. And to give an example of a scenario here, let's say an attacker was messing with a web application, was trying to essentially hack it, and he got an error message that came back that gave the version of SQL that was running behind the scenes. Well, maybe this particular version was an older, unpatched version that allowed the attacker to take a harder look and be able to pivot through the server to access further things. So just simply by having too much information in an error message can cause a complete breach. Another scenario is that the cloud provider may have default sharing permissions set up that's open to the internet that could allow potentially anybody to click on these shares to gain information that they should not have access to. This can happen just by default. The last scenario is that maybe directory listings are not disabled on a server, and it could allow an attacker to list all of the directories, view even possibly some of the source code, maybe behind the Java programming, and they were able to take that code, download it, reverse engineer it, and then use it for attack purposes. So a most properly configured web application is one of the OWASP top 10 vulnerabilities. Next week, stay tuned. We're going to cover another one, or maybe even a couple within that. Take care and have a great week. We'll see you next week.